Bonjour.
Good morning to all of you and welcome Africa Pack by ALL4PACK. I would like to welcome the ladies and gentlemen around us. I think don't fear anything. It's not because we're talking about women entrepreneurs all through the day or through this session that we're going to stop talking to you, gentlemen. So the topic is this. We're going to talk about women entrepreneurs in the packaging industry. Now, we're taking the point of view of Africa for one thing and for the rest of the world for the other. And in Africa Pack, for ALL4PACK, we have the great pleasure of welcoming three speakers here, three ladies in the packaging business who have all worked and are still working today for the packaging industry. And in particular, they are a testimonial of women in the packaging industry as a strength in the economy. The first one we have the pleasure of welcoming is Mrs. Vanessa EROGBOGBO, Women for Program of the ITC. Is the joint sponsor of this TV set. It's a great pleasure to welcome you here, Vanessa, in the large family that I have the great pleasure to welcome two other ladies here who are also very close to me. Hager BENMAMI, Marketing Director of the Packaging Technical Center of Tunisia, Packtec. And Perlive, I'm going to have a hard time with your name, says the speaker, RABENITANY. We always call you Perlive for short. And you are the head of the Action consulting firm, and you work in an NGO, APROMO, and Perlive is from Madagascar. And we met many years ago through the packaging industry. So, first of all, my first question goes to Vanessa. Vanessa, when we talk about business entrepreneurs, of course, the first question we generally ask women is, what is your professional background? You don't have, the microphone is on, actually, I think so. And so back to my question, Vanessa, what is your business track record? What brought you to your position today within ITC, and particularly dedicated women?
It's such a pleasure to be here at this packaging conference. I head the Women in Trade program of the International Trade Center. The International Trade Center, for those of you who don't know, is a joint agency of the World Trade Organization and the United Nations, and we're based in Geneva. Our job is to help small and medium-owned companies from developing countries to internationalize. I started my career as a commercial banker, I will confess that. I did a degree in civil engineering, and I first came into development work when I started working at the International Finance Corporation in Washington. I went to the IFC to set up a program that was supposed to support financial inclusion for women-owned companies. And that's where I began to understand the significant challenges that women-owned enterprises and women in business face in participating in the economy. And this is why I developed the passion to help these women-owned companies internationalize, understanding that without women's full economic participation, then the global economy is not going to grow and thrive as we would like it to do.
Thank you, Vanessa. Je crois.
Thank you, Vanessa. Well, I think that ITC, as you very rightly said, works essentially. Now, for everybody's understanding, we're going to carry on in French, and I know you understand French, but anyway, ITC works mainly for SMEs, and the women that you meet in the framework of ITC are most probably women who are mostly concerned with what we call microfinance, microcredits, and the need for these women to develop small businesses, whether it be in packaging or anything else that revolves around it, or in conditioning. How can you, Vanessa, through ITC, help these women entrepreneurs develop or have a real legitimate role in their country's economy? I think that you had the program Hitways. So is it particularly, or does it cater more specifically to SMEs, or to smaller enterprises? Are we talking about microcredits or microfinancing, or can you tell us more about it?
Participation has been on the agenda, has been a topic for maybe the last 20 years. And at the beginning, there was a big focus on microcredit. There was a big focus on the informal economy. But increasingly, we're realizing that it's also important to support formal companies. So at ITC last year, we launched a global initiative, the She Trades Initiative, to connect 1 million women to market by 2020. Who are these women? These women are informal producers. In our experience, we found that women who you would think are the most marginalized can also be helped to enter the global economy. I can give you an example of some women that we're working with in Papua New Guinea. They don't have an education. Some of them aren't even registered. They don't have a birth certificate. But we have helped those women to access international markets. Companies like Olam Specialty Coffee are buying coffee from women in Papua New Guinea. So we help micro producers and informal producers. We work with small companies, registered businesses. We work across all sectors. Of course, we've had much more experience working in some of the sectors where you expect women to prevail: textiles and apparel, agribusiness. This is a huge sector for women-owned companies. Increasingly, we're working with women in services, and just this morning I met a woman who has a fantastic packaging services business. We're working with women in technology, so the face of women's entrepreneurship is really changing, and it's exciting. And actually, I was surprised when my colleague Frederick told me that we were having Women in Packaging seminar. And I did my research, and I understand that women are increasingly participating in an industry like packaging, both as company owners, but also as employees.
Thank you, Vanessa. C'est vrai, Perlive, que quand on parle...
Thank you, Vanessa. Well, quite so, Perlive. When we talk about developing countries, we often wonder whether these countries give the real place they deserve to women. You're another good example of a good success story in the packaging industry. Can you tell us more about your background and what brought you where you are now at the head of the Action consulting firm? Thank you, Annette, for inviting me here. It's an honor for me. I'm a graduate. I graduated as an engineer and as an economist, and I worked in a company, well, rather an agency that was part of the Ministry of the Economy. And then I founded my own consulting firm and to have a better way of managing things. And in that field, in that capacity, I investigated research development and entrepreneurship, and that's how I realized what the challenges were in the packaging industry. First of all, the difficulties in accessing this market, difficulties in exporting, competition in a given market, and then there were all sorts of other challenges, quality levels. And since I'm here to represent the NGO, an NGO in Madagascar, we're here to keep quality up and make sure that is something we focus on. So I created the NGO to focus on entrepreneurships and in particular on packaging, because this is a cross-cutting thing. We'll discuss it further. I think your approach of packaging is really focused on quality. Is this more feminine in a way, possibly? Is it more feminine vision? In what way can you provide good advice to your consulting firm? And in Madagascar, is this something that it caters more to women entrepreneurs or to men in general? Can you tell me? Because we're talking about developing packaging. Or is the issue developing packaging in Madagascar or developing women's participation in business in Madagascar? Tell us more about it. No, it's not necessary. We don't necessarily assist women. We assist all entrepreneurs and provide advice to entrepreneurs. And I know about packaging. This is, as I said, a cross-cutting issue. But I can say, for one thing, that women are more resilient, are good entrepreneurs, and they are very demanding in terms of quality. And they are both focused on quality. I mean, without wanting to be too laudable. But anyway, we have to acknowledge what is reality. We see more and more women in packaging in Madagascar, or are women more in product conditioning for exports, for example, for products packing, for example, in the packing industry for food for export. We carried out an awareness-raising program, and I think this is a duo. It's, I mean, coupling packaging with packing, product packing. This has worked, and women seem to be much more able to see how they go hand in hand in the way they work, and this is the result of our efforts. I must say I'm pretty happy about it. I mean, it's not yet sufficient, but I can tell you we're in good way. This is something I'm happy to share with you. Well, good. This is quite optimistic. I mean, some countries talking about women's rights and access of women to business and the industry is difficult. Hager, it's a pleasure to see you here. Of course, Tunisia was always an exception. I am familiar with Tunisia, and the place of women in administration, in the industry, is quite good. And the proof of it is that you are heading the marketing department. Mark, can you tell us more about your personnel experience? Well, thank you, Annette, first of all. Thank you for inviting me here. It's a pleasure for me to be here. My name is Hager, BENMAMI. I'm an economist by training, but I also graduated in marketing. I was part of Packtec since it was created 20 or so years ago. The packaging industry in Tunisia is going strong, and I think that we think that we have reached a pretty good level, and we think that in 2018 we'll have our stand here. We already had one previously, but it was a very small one. And I think at the next issue in 2018, we'll see us come with a greater presence. Now, women in Tunisia, I can say, well, we're pretty proud to be Muslim women and Arab women working and to have rights, as many rights as men in Tunisia, especially since the Arab Spring and the revolution in Tunisia, we fought for our rights. And I think that today our rights are acknowledged, and I think this is the result of all of the efforts we put into this. And we're going to carry on. We're going to carry on doing so. And I think the position of women in Tunisia is relatively good. As you said, Hager, women's status is part of women's rights or part of the law in Tunisia. Now, my question is, when you talk to male people in the business of packaging in Tunisia, since Packtec carries on heralding development of the packaging industry in Tunisia. Now, when we're talking about producers, packaging producers or manufacturers or anybody else that are male, is it natural for you to be their counterpart as a woman? I think there are quite a few women in Packtec. Does it make any difference that you're a woman? Or do you feel any differently about packaging because you're a woman? Well, let me say that because we really fought for equal rights for men and women, what we're trying to do is to treat men on equal footing. I mean, we don't talk to them or consider them any differently because they're men. And whether we're women or not, it's pretty much the same as far as I'm concerned. But there, we just try and put all of our efforts in, and just to show that we deserve to be there. No, I don't want to trigger a war between the sexes here. This that is certainly not something I want to do. But I'm going to take advantage of this roundtable discussion to ask our panelists what women entrepreneurs have as qualities in different countries? What are the specific qualities of women?
I answer your question. I'm going to,
Yes,
and everyone knows when I get the microphone, I take liberties. I want to encourage you to go on shetrades.com, www.shetrades.com. Check out what we have there. It will be out in French and Spanish next quarter, but have a look and see what opportunities are on our website, from training to new business opportunities. Okay, so women in different countries. I would say that in countries like many African countries, for example, women entrepreneurs tend to be really entrepreneurial. Women in general, really entrepreneurial, really dynamic, really innovative, and I think that stems from having to overcome some of the challenges that they're facing. For example, I learned recently that in Nigeria, I think it's close to 30% of girls between 15 and 19 are already married. In many of, actually in every economy of the world, women do twice as much unpaid care work as men. And so, having to juggle between work at home and the business, they tend to have to come up with lots of solutions. In terms of their technical characteristics, we see women-owned companies tend to be smaller. They tend to participate less in international trade. So only 1 in 5 exporting companies across the 25 countries we surveyed is owned by a woman. And they tend to be confined to less profitable, less productive sectors. The good news is that when women do own companies, they employ more women, and they contribute both to the economy, but also to the poverty and development agenda. So women invest more of their earnings in family well-being, in health, in nutrition, in education, which has huge implications for the future of the world.
Oui, je pense que c'est une conclusion absolue.
Absolutely. I think this is an excellent conclusion that can apply to many countries. I mean, the qualities of women and the stability they provide, not only to the business world, but to the economy of their countries. Now, Hager and Perlive, I think you certainly agree with what was just said about women's qualities. But say for Madagascar, it might be more complicated in Tunisia or more simple. You will tell me. But what are things what are the elements we could help women with? So my question is, do all young girls have access to schooling or training? Vanessa, you said it wasn't so much a matter of education, or then is it more cultural or not to allow highly educated women, technically speaking or economically speaking, to have or to hold high position jobs or as company developers or entrepreneurs? I forgot to say something earlier on. I was able to make headway through a partnership with IFEC and with Annette in particular, and I think this helps. This certainly helps for women, and certainly for women in Madagascar. Their ability to turn to others and ask for help, and to try and draw the lessons from past experiences and share their experience. Every time there's an opportunity, women seem to be more eager to develop something new. They're more on the watch, might I say. I mean, personally, I work quite a bit with entrepreneurship and women entrepreneurs. And they have a greater ability to interact with others, to strike up relations, to ask for help, and to move forward. So, Hager, do you agree with that? Are things similar in Tunisia? Absolutely. I think this is true, absolutely, in Tunisia. And I would certainly agree with what Perlive just said. Women in Tunisia are there, they work, they and they do whatever is needed in a company to make sure this is their home, their business, their family, and they really go all the way and do whatever she does fully. Some people say it's also the reverse of the coin to be sort of fully committed to what we do. But I think in packaging, we're so passionate that we can't do it any other way, because otherwise we'd just go in another business. So thank you, Vanessa, Hager, and Perlive, to explain the position of women in the packaging industry. Well, I'm certainly convinced that this is one of the pillars of development in the world. So thank you very much for being part of this panel. And I can only invite you to wait for the next session, which is the more French vision and the European vision of women in the packaging industry. Thank you.